Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome tonight to 3 common blockages that energy practitioners, that stop energy practitioners from using energy tools. You know, Marilyn, we always make those titles so long that and then we change them and I can't remember what they are. But anyway, we're so excited to have you here with us tonight. And I've got Marilyn here and I've got Tom Letter, the selenite sword maker, and I'll bring them out in just a second. But before we get started, I'd like to just go over a little bit of housekeeping for those of you who have not joined us before on Zoom. This is a live stream, so you want to make sure that you have everything else closed out on your desktop. You don't even need your browser open once you're in the Zoom room, so to speak. It'll broadcast just from the Zoom application. If you experience any freezing or sound, hiccups or anything like that, the best thing to do is just to go out and come back in. There's a chance it could be your internet connection, and you can always turn off the video and listen. We are recording this. The replay will be available for you within 24 hours. And I'm just so excited. Tom and Marilyn and I have been planning this webinar for, I don't remember. It was like back in, I want to say October or November that we first started talking about this. And so we're really excited to kick this off. We're going to get started here because we have a lot of information to cover and a short amount of time. So I'm going to hand it over to my best friend and business partner, Marilyn Harper. Are you there with us, Marilyn?
I am here live and in color from Table Rock Lake in Branson, Missouri. Oh, I am so excited about this broadcast because we haven't ever really worked with Tom Letter before, the official selenite sword maker, and we are sharing information that as a healing practitioner, a person gets all caught up in so many different things that tonight we're going to give you some really good nuggets that you can take away and put to use right now. Near the end of our presentation tonight, we are going to talk to you a little bit about the Selenite Sword workshop that we're having in Denver. And we've got a really special offer and a really exciting promotion that we're going to share with you. And then at the very end, I'm so excited, I can hardly wait. I want the end to come right now. Because Tom, the selenite sword maker, is going to do an activation with the swords with all of us. It's so powerful. I mean, some of you have seen Adironda work the swords of light, the selenite swords of light. Some of you have seen Tom work the selenite swords of light. There are 2 different things, and we're going to do a special activation at the very end. So please hang in till the very end. We want to provide all y'all with as much juicy information that you can experience and that you can use right now in your process. I don't know how many of you are healing practitioners. If you are a practitioner, type into the chat window that you're a practitioner so we kind of know who's in our audience. If you just want to learn healing techniques for yourself, type that into the chat window. If you're just wandering through YouTube and found our video and just thought, well, these 2 girls look interesting, that's great too. Whatever works. I've been working with healing for about actually 19 years, longer than I've been channeling. And I became a Reiki master and a quantum touch practitioner. I'm a Karuna master, a certified intuitive consultant. And when we use the healing tools, when I started down this path, I got so confused with taking classes and workshops, and everybody told me I had to do everything their way. And one of the things that we're going to help you learn tonight is how to make the distinction between your intuition, your ego, and your imagination. We're going to teach you how to use crystals in healing. We're going to help you learn how to develop your own style of healing work with yourself or someone else. And we're going to have a live demonstration of one of the tools that I use and Tom, as the sword maker, uses. And we're just going to have so much fun that it's like the next hour and a half is going to go by so fast. I'm looking at my clock here because I'm thinking, okay, what time is it? What time are we starting? The information that you are experiencing is working in a lot of different ways. So if you've typed in whether you're we see practitioners, if you're healing people, massage therapist, that's really excellent. If you're, don't think that you have to be just to watch this webinar. The thing that we're teaching you tonight, you can walk away and anybody can do. You don't have to have any training, particularly to do some of the techniques that we're going to talk about tonight. So don't freak out because, well, you just woke up and you're just starting this out. So don't freak out about that. So understand and know that everything that we're talking about tonight came from our own experience. My experience, I've been doing healing work, as I said, for 19 years. Joy's experience. She's been doing healing work for 8 years, 9 years, 8 years. Tom, I don't know. I'm going to let Tom tell you his story. And speaking of Tom, I met Tom in 2012, and I saw what he was making, the selenite swords of light. And this is about more than this. Tonight is about more than just the selenite swords of light. But when I saw them, I thought, who is this guy? What is he doing? How is he working? And then when he told me that he was an engineer and he created these swords, I literally fell off my chair. I'll tell you a story later about Adironda and when we first used them at the Lemurian Choir rehearsal in 2012 in Sedona that was attached onto the Summer Light Conference, which was the first time I met Tom and the first Summer Light Conference I went to and the first time I channeled on the stage. So it has been quite a journey. But before I go on, I would really like to bring our guest speaker out, one of our guest speakers out, Tom Letter, who is the selenite sword creator. Tom, why don't you tell us just a little bit about how this all started for you?
Well, first of all, I'm really excited to be here, have the opportunity to talk to all of you out there that are listening to the webinar. And I got into this about 11 years ago. And how it all started was I had a friend that was into crystals, so I started watching him cut he used to make semi-precious stones, and he had a lot of quartz crystals. So he was going to a show. I said, well, bring me back some Lemurian. He was telling me about Lemurian crystals having this wonderful love quality. So I told him to come back, bring me some back from this show he was going to. And he brought me a number of Lemurian crystals. And when I picked them up, I could really feel the power and the love that Lemurian crystals have, that they project. And that kind of got me started. And I don't know if anybody has had the experience when you have one crystal, you think, well, maybe I should get another crystal and another crystal. So I went to a crystal show in Denver, and I was walking around and I saw a lady working on a man's leg with a piece of selenite. And I said, hey, what are you doing? Since she was in the middle of the aisle. She said, I'm repairing an injury on the inside of this man's leg. And I said, well, how do you know that? And she said, I can see inside his leg and I can see the light coming out of this piece of selenite and going into his leg. And I said, wow, that is pretty cool stuff. I think I want to get interested in this particular crystal. So I started looking for selenite. Eventually I found some. I made a few swords. I was studying with a spiritual teacher named Sai Ma So, and she always talked about energy, loved energy, light, frequency. And so I decided to give her a sword. So I was at a event with about 5,000 people, or not 5,000, 500 people in Vail, Colorado. And I went up to her room and I gifted her a sword. And as soon as she got one sword, I gave her one sword, like similar to this. She said, "Oh, I need another sword." So I gave her, I had 4 made, so I gave her 2. And that night she brought the swords down for this group and called in Archangel Michael for the 450 people, 500 that were there. And I was really excited that she had, I just gave it to her this morning. She's already using them in the event. And so what transpired after that is I started to, I met her again in Boulder, Colorado, and she called me over and said, "Hey, I want to order 100 swords." And that was my first order was for 100 swords. And I did produce them for their next event, and they were really successful. So sold 85. And after that, so that was 11 years ago. And I've been doing this now full time about 8. And now I've branched out and have been, I go around the world, do trips to Australia every year, been to Japan many times, Canada, Mexico, and I do workshops and train people how to be more powerful light workers. My real mission in life is, how can I help the people that I come in contact be a more powerful light worker? And that's really one of my key missions. And the other is to activate and help assist the divine feminine to gain power and strength, because my feeling is that is the key element that's really needed in the world today, is to bring in the divine feminine in a much stronger manner to help balance out the masculine, which of course we can all see is pretty out of balance at this time. So that's kind of my mission. That's kind of how I got started into making the swords, and it's just branched out from there. Many other products have come in since then, the Ankh, the pendulums, things like that. So thanks, Marilyn.
Hey, Tom, I have a question about the feminine energy.
Yeah.
We actually see a lot of men really attracted to the swords at our table. It's, we don't see a lot of men in our events, but the men we see are really attracted to the swords.
That was always my hope, that the men, maybe they don't understand crystals, but it's a sword. So I always felt it had a good ring. And actually, the sword is really, as Cryon once told me, he said the sword is a symbol of universal truth. It's and Archangel Michael always carries a sword. So the sword has rather than having a negative connotation, really has quite a positive connotation in the esoteric world and in the world of the archangels. They're all carrying swords, big ones.
And that's really the truth. And with that information and with that energy of the sword is a masculine symbol, but at the same time, it's a feminine symbol. And with the selenite, it comes, the selenite kind of follows the intention of the user, and I think that's one of the hardest things as a healing practitioner, is to be able to trust what it is that you're doing. It's about being able to, sense it, feel it, hear it, know it, and then trust what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're experiencing. One of the things that we'd like our participants tonight to walk away with is that information of of learning how to trust, learning how to acknowledge that information, learning how to know the difference between their intuition. I mean, everybody has a certain amount of gifts. Everybody's got a certain skill. Everybody's got guides. Everybody's got angels that they work with. Everybody's got an ego. Everybody's got that little voice that tells you all those things that you can't do. Everybody's got all of those things. And so one of the trickiest things for a healing practitioner, as Tom had to learn to trust to make the swords, the selenite swords of light, one of the things that they have to do is to learn to trust your intuition and know that you're guided step by step of the way. And as a healing practitioner, whether you're working on yourself or someone else, you know you have all of these wonderful gifts. I mean, it's pretty simple. Everybody has energy, right? The body is an electrical energy source, and everything is energy, and intention is everything. And so you just have to learn how to trust that information. You have to learn how to trust your guidance. You have to learn how to identify your guidance. You know, we teach a course in how to channel, even if you think you can't. And that helps people connect to their other sources. And with that connection, usually what comes up is fear. And the fear that comes up is like, how do I know? When I started, I mean, some of the people on this call know who I am. I started, in 1996 when I woke up, and I was deacon in the Christian church, and I was selling advertising for a country western radio station, and somehow I raised my hand and said, I'm going to be all that I am. And 3 years later, I was channeling. It really is about you learning what works and what doesn't. It's about you learning to trust. It's about you acknowledging that information that you are receiving and trusting it enough to take action. Trusting it enough to be able to understand what it is that you're seeing. When I first started working, I didn't work with selenite. I worked with regular crystals, but I also knew that I could see, sense, feel, and hear into people's bodies. When I started working with selenite, it got a lot stronger. But in the beginning, I had to learn that what I was seeing was inside dimensionally, inside of someone's personage. We now develop the technique holographic healing, and it's a certification program. And the information that I got then was about how do I verify that I'm not going into someone's body and messing up their karma or messing with their energy field. And one of the ways that I do that is I set the intention. And this is something that you may want to try in your own practice. I set the intention that whatever I see, sense, feel, hear, or know, because first you have to decide how you get your information. But whatever I sense it and I see it with my eyes closed in my mind's eye. The client has to be able to see or sense it as well. And if I'm sensing something going on with their digestive system, and I say, let's both of us go into your digestive system, what do you see? What's the first thing that comes to mind? And they see nothing. Then to me, that was a safeguard. I felt like I couldn't go in because they were doing some karmic work there, and I didn't have that authority. So you always want to set a verification and confirmation of what you are sensing, what you are seeing, what you are feeling, and then ask for confirmation. Ask for a sign, ask I actually physically installed, energetically, not really physically, but energetically installed a tuning fork into my body to resonate or vibrate with yes when I began. And so if I would say, I'm seeing your digestive system tied up in knots, which was the first time I ever saw inside somebody's body. It was pretty wild. Now, obviously, their digestive system was not tied up in knots, but it looked like rope. And I said to her, to my client, okay, so I'm seeing something in your digestive system. What are you sensing in your digestive system? And she said, rope. So we saw the same thing. So we just went in and unraveled that rope, untied the knots, and she could eat after that. She had trouble eating. So know that when you are sensing something, when you are looking at something, when you are feeling into it, you have to learn to trust that. And that's one of the most challenging things in working with other people, as well as yourself, is to trust the information that you get. We actually teach some techniques in learning to trust that. Joy, you've been working with that in the energy, and can you go into a little bit of the difference between working with your ego, working without your ego, how to know if it's in your intuition, how to know if it's in, can you explain that a little bit?
I can. I think this is almost how we start every workshop or retreat that we do, is we help people understand how to tap into their intuition, and how to understand the difference between their ego and their imagination, which is basically still your ego. But it reminded me, Marilyn, of when I asked Adironda if they had an ego, and they laughed and they thought about it for a couple of minutes, and then they came back and they said, no, that is a human trait. And so I think that all of us who don't automatically, because I didn't automatically know, it took me a long time to figure out what the difference was between my intuition and my ego. And I think the things that Marilyn mentioned are key, was that your intuition, or, God, basically, when you're connecting with it, you want to make sure that, when you're connected into your intuition, you're not going to get told to do anything negative or bad or anything like that. It's all going to be, unless it's to assist you in some way from hurting yourself or something like that, which is still going to be good. But the difference between your intuition and your imagination, I know Marilyn is so good at doing it, and we work with Lee all the time. They just drop into channel, and it's so easy for them. And I've watched her for years and years and years. And a couple of things that I've noticed was, one is that when she drops into her intuition, she expresses, she didn't even know this, I pointed it out to her, but she expresses this immense amount of gratitude. That's one way she drops into her intuition. And for me, I know that it's my intuition because it comes up so quickly. It's like I get the answer before I actually have the words. So if I ask the question and I'm trusting my guidance system or my intuition, I get the answer like immediately. So Marilyn says she has a tuning fork. We're all different. We all sense and feel it in different places or in different ways. And for me, it's not so much that I sense it in my body, although I can sense my ego for sure. My ego comes up in my stomach, but my intuition is definitely something that it's just like before I've even finally finished asking the question, the answer's there. And then I know that I'm tapping into my intuition. Is that what you were looking for, Marilyn?
Yes, actually, that's exactly what I was looking for. The thing that I noticed is I was able to identify where my ego, when my ego was communicating, I was able to identify where it felt in my physical body. And that's another thing that we teach in the How to Channel class. And, That's a really good tip for you to start paying attention when you have synchronistic moments or intuitive moments, that you start analyzing where you feel that in your body. I know Tom has a lot of tools and he works with his intuition as well. Tom, can you share some of the tools that you've created to highlight and to accent your intuition?
The great thing about the selenite swords of light is that they really they help accelerate your intuition and your connection to your guides and to your the angelic realms. So the selenite, because it's such a high frequency crystal, it can bring in those higher dimensional beings much easier that can assist you. So when I've been over the years, I just get a lot of information downloaded as to what to add to the swords, what new products to bring out. And so I'm always experimenting with the alchemy of multiple crystals, sacred waters from around the world, and also pictures of ascended masters, angelic beings that are added into the sword to create the alchemy of energies that then really can accelerate someone's personal growth and the clearing process. As we all I think everybody recognizes, the most important individual in the healing process is the healer. The healer has to heal themselves, has to work with their own energy in order to really be able to get out there and assist other people. So the tools that have come online have been the selenite swords were first, and then recently the Egyptian Ankh has come in, and also the pendulums, which are I'll show you one. This is what I call is a selenite alchemy pendulum, because it's made of over 400 crushed crystals, selenite, a magnet, and it has the ability to clear energy. It has ability to give you yes, no answers, and it's also that precursor to your intuition. It really helps you develop your intuition when you allow yourself to get in touch with your higher self, and then that's really where the information comes down when you're using the pendulum. So the pendulums came in pretty much after the swords, and then the Ankhs. And the Ankh is this beautiful little creature, and they're quite alive. It's I feel it's the first crystal and Ankh ever created, because it's really made of over 400 crushed crystals. There's a bottle of sacred water from 45 locations around the world, including the Nile River in Egypt, Lake Titicaca, Mount Shasta, Mount Fuji, Mount Koyasan, Mount Kailash in Tibet. So all these great sacred waters from around the world I put in a bottle inside the Ankh. And all those energies then can be kind of brought together in an alchemical way that then produces a really powerful energy that magnifies whatever you want. And some of the information that's come down from channels, channeling Thoth on the Ankh, has said that this is a tool that can impart the codes of immortality and regeneration and revitalization. So the Ankh was really an exciting breakthrough, because what happened is now we have the ability to bring together the Atlantean Lemurian technology of the sword with the Ankh, the Egyptian Ankh, and that combination is now allowing us to really join Egyptian, Lemurian, and Atlantean healing techniques into one modality that can be used to really accelerate our personal growth. And that's really what the swords of light, the Ankhs, the pendulums, and the all of these devices is to help accelerate our evolution. One other thing that's come online recently is a crystalline flower of life, and everybody loves the flower of life. Has a great power and energy, just even looking at it.
Wow.
And this one this one is made of all the crystals. There's copper wire throughout it, and also has a large amount of selenite powder in the flower of life. And the flower of life is also geared to help bring in these codes, the ancient knowledge that Thoth carried in the emerald tablets was embedded within the flower of life, and the flower of life would activate these energies of knowledge, the past knowledge that resided in Egypt, and also the past knowledge that resided in how to revitalize the entire physical structure. So that's some of the tools that we'll be working with.
Wow.
Wow.
Tom, you absolutely amaze me at every corner. I've not seen that big flower of life.
Oh, you hadn't seen that?
Just you holding it up, I could feel that energy. You know, it's really important to know that tools help you expand your own natural abilities, and the right tools work well. And you can buy, I used to buy everything. I used to buy every crystal I could find. I used to buy everything I could find. I used to buy it all, thinking that it would make me a healer. and then I found selenite and stopped buying everything else. But to know that the pendulum, now there's people out there. We're going to have a question and answer period at some point. So save your questions and put them in the Q&A box, and we'll answer as many of them as we can. But, if you've never used a pendulum before, I have to say I had pendulum envy for a long time because it just wasn't working for me. And I had to learn to use my intuition before I could use the pendulum. And if you've never used a pendulum, the easy way that I know, and I don't know how you teach it, Tom, and you can certainly add to this if you want, but I held the pendulum over my right knee and I said, "Show me yes." And then the pendulum itself would move. And I am at Randy Luna's house, and he took my pendulum upstairs. And then I hold it over my left knee and I say, "Show me no." And then I hold it, in between and say, "Show me maybe." And then I find that it's always a good idea to for me anyway, to phrase the question that I'm asking in a way and ask that all answers comes through the Christ consciousness, or the consciousness of love, not from my belief system, because my belief system, I can make that pendulum move any way I want it to move. But then after you get your yes and your no, then test it on things. My name is Marilyn Harper. Is it in my highest good? I always ask, is it in my highest good to ask questions about such and such and such and such? And then I test the pendulum and use that. Now, everybody has their own style in how they use a pendulum or how they learn to use a pendulum. I don't know. Joy, you learned to use a pendulum with Lynn in California once. How was that working for you?
Well, the way that Lynn taught me was fine. I find that, when I've gone through different classes that use a pendulum in their methodology, they make it really complicated. And for me, a tool has to be simple or I'm not going to use it. So for me, the pendulum is, I just talk to it. I give it permission. I ask for permission. I give it permission. And then I ask for my yes. And I ask to be shown. But I know one program I went through, they had like a really, I don't even remember how to do it. It was like, I think that this is a case of where people really get the opportunity to trust their intuition on what resonates for them. I think that what a boring place this world would be if we were all the same. You know, we're all unique. We all get our own information, and we have to trust that sometimes we may know a little bit more than what somebody is teaching us, and that's okay, you know. So I just talk to my pendulum and ask it to show. I ask for permission, and then I ask it to show me yes, and I ask it to show me no. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Now, Tom, you use it in a little different way because your pendulums actually have a little magnet and lots of other stuff in it.
Yeah.
How do you, because you've got pendulums that have a big eye of Horus on it as well as the smaller
I have
one.
that right here. So you know, the first thing that I learned when I studied with Hannah Kruger and a student who studied a lot with Dr. Parcells, was that just they would douse for yes, no, and then asking questions about what might be wrong with the body, what might need to be worked on, and then you could take approaches from that point. Well, what happened with the pendulums that I developed, this happens to be a larger pendulum. It has a very large neodymium magnet, and it also has the eye of Horus. And what this does, I call these are processing pendulums. They can process negative energy out of your field. They can process negative energy out of a client. They can pull a trauma out of a client. They're just really powerful because they're really not just they're an alchemy of crystals, specialized crystals that all have been doused to be in the pendulum, and that they are there with the selenite, with the magnet, and that what it does is just has the ability to create this electromagnetic field. And we know that one of the key healing elements is magnetics, and magnetics are really important. And with the pendulum, we can we'll learn how to clear negative energy from an area, from a person, or from a house or a place. And not only will it allow you to get good yes and no answers, but it'll really allow you to process information and process energies, positive energies, into a field.
That's all so important. Thank you, Tom. With that energy, as Joy was talking about, it's really easy to get a little frustrated and overwhelmed with what I should do. What am I doing? How am I going to do it? You know, you invest all this money into all these tools and you think, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to work them. And as Joy was saying, simple is better. You know, when you as a healing practitioner or a self-healer, when you feel like you have to do something other than what you think you know, it gets a little frustrating, especially if you have complicated methods that you're looking in a book trying to find all that you have to learn about. And when I started down this path, I went out and I bought every stone, every crystal I could find, and I bought Melody's big book. I bought the Book of Stones. I bought, the Stone Bible, the Crystal Bible. I bought them all and decided that I wasn't possibly going to be able to memorize them all. And so I actually, when I began, I would, have somebody on my energy table and my massage table. And I wasn't a massage therapist, but and I would go to my bowl and area of crystals, and I would pick different crystals or stones or something to hold in their hands. And it was always fascinating that I always put a selenite crystal right at their heart chakra. And this was before I ever met Tom, and I was working with selenite, but and the different crystals. And when I got done, then I would look the crystals up in the book and realize that I intuitively picked the crystals that they needed for whatever the client was working on. And that's one of the things that I want to stress for you is learn to trust that intuition. You know what tools to use, and the more if you think you have to look up the definition of it before you use it, then that's a challenge when you're there with the client. And for you, trust that intuition. Pick the stone, pick the pendulum, pick the tool that you intuitively know, use it the way you would intuitively use it, and then know that there are other uses and it can be worked in that capacity, but energetically, you know what needs to be done. If you're in this as a profession, you have learned to trust that intuition, and you've learned to utilize those tools. You know, I found that I would put the selenite on top of the heart chakra, and I would put a selenite crystal underneath on the floor, and then I would anchor quartz crystals at the four corners of the table to magnify all of that energy. You know, you can get really complicated with your layouts. I bought a book once, looked at all the pictures about all the different crystal layouts that you could do, but I was not the kind of person that would study up before I went to the client and decide what this client was going to need ahead of time. I intuitively said, what stones do I need to have to my availability? And then I had them out and available and would place them wherever I needed to. And then after the client went away, I would look them up and say, oh, well, they were working on, you know, their heart chakra, or they were working on the fact that they had headaches, and this stone helps their headaches. It's about understanding the tools that we're using. And Tom is like a master tool creator. But it's about understanding how to use those tools in your own work. It's really about acknowledging your own private practice, acknowledging your own energy, and learning some new techniques, which is why we're going to do a workshop on these techniques that, we'll talk about that a little later. But understand what works the best for you. I know, Joy, you have worked with several different tools. You've actually worked with the Ankh, and how do you feel when you are indeed working with tools?
Well, I want to share a little story, because we were in France, I think it was last year, and Tom had given us each an Ankh, and we had been in Egypt earlier, and the only thing I wanted to buy in Egypt was an Ankh. And I wanted this really specific Ankh that had all of the carvings on it, because they have lots of just plain ones. But I wanted this one with the carvings on it. And I couldn't find it. I found it, and then I thought, it was like the second or third day, I thought, oh, it's too soon to buy it. I might find something better. So I waited, and then I never saw that Ankh again. I saw like plain ones, and that's not what I wanted. So fast forward to, you know, a few months later, we stopped by Tom's workshop to pick up some swords. And he said, oh, Joy, I have something for you. And he brings me the exact Ankh that I was looking for. I mean, it was uncanny. And then I started using it. I think we were in France, but I started using it without really knowing what it was. I just picked it up and I was using it. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was holding it up here. I wish I had one, but I'm not at my house. I was holding it here, and I was using the sword behind it. And I was at the table, and people, remember, Marilyn? People just started they were magnetized to the table. They were saying, well, can I have a session with you? Yeah, exactly like what. Tom, do you want to show them really quick? You have to say something so the picture will come forward.
Okay. Can you see it? Can you hear? Okay, yeah. So this is the technique that Joy was working with. Is that this magnifies or activates any intention you want. It magnifies the light as it moves through the center of the Ankh, and the energy is just, it really, in a sense, magnifies it. Selenite magnifies it, and the Ankh magnifies everything even more.
And it was so amazing because people were magnified literally to our table. You know, I didn't even think about it. I didn't know it was a process. And then we saw Tom again, and he started telling me about how in fact, that's how we started talking about the workshop. Was Marilyn and I were saying, well, we need to learn your techniques, but we really didn't realize that we were already doing some. And that is like a perfect example of using your intuition with the tools, is that you'll start to develop your own method and your own way of using the tools.
Yeah, you know, it's really about learning something and then making it yours. Don't you think, Tom?
Yeah, that's a really key point. Is the idea is that with the selenite swords and all the tools, what they're for is to magnify your abilities. And if I've really checked it out. Like a pendulum's very good to check out. Well, how much more would this sword magnify my energies than if I just put my hand up? And it's just amazing how many times more powerful you can be when you're using the selenite swords of light. One, because selenite magnifies everything anyway, and all the alchemy of the other ingredients are then magnified through that. And so the idea is, how can we really need to be more powerful light workers, more powerful healers, or in a sense, just more effective at working with our own energy, so we can keep our frequency high in any type of environment or times when it's, you know, tense in the environment. We can still be maintain a high frequency.
You know, and that's really thank you, Tom. That's really key to most all of the energy is how do we maintain, as a healing practitioner, how do we maintain that high frequency of energy? How do we maintain that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter how we're doing it? And, you know, there's gobs of techniques out there, you know, the biodecoding, the emotional code, the EFT tapping, the EMF, Peggy Phoenix DeBro's technique, there's Psyche, there's quantum touch, there's Reiki, I mean, there's reconnective therapy, I mean, body talk, heart math. How many healing techniques can a person learn?
Holographic healing.
Holographic healing. Thank you, Joy. Thank you. And really, it comes down to what works for you and finding out what is effective for your own style of healing, for your own technique. I have taken classes where I have notebooks that are this thick that have, you know, look up every illness, every ailment, every problem that a person had. And then it's got 3 pages on what to do about that. Joy knows I'm not going to read all those 3 pages. So it really is about finding the simplest process and then making it yours, and then working with that enough. And what we do in holographic healing is much like what Tom does in the selenite sword workshops, is that he takes that process and works with that process, and then you work with that process, and then you make that process your own, or develop your own process. Yes, of course, go right ahead.
I wanted to ask Tom, because Marilyn, this is something that we see all the time. You know, we have the swords out on our table at an event, and, you know, people see Marilyn use the swords on the stage, and they come by the table, and the swords literally pick their owners, you know, and Marilyn and I used to think, you know, that's what we say, and it seems like that can't be true, but we see it again and again and again. If a sword is meant to be for somebody, it doesn't sell. They come back, you know, at the end of the workshop and it's still there. They know it's their sword. How can that be?
Well, if we've seen the sword does seem to choose the owner. I'll tell you a quick story. Last year, a lady in the Sunshine Coast had two swords in her hand, and she was trying to decide which one do I buy. And so she was thinking about the one in her right hand, and she said that the one in her left hand. So she was sitting there and concentrating on this one, and her hand started going like this, and immediately she says, "Oh my!" And she wasn't doing it; it just did it on its own. And basically that sword had said, "No, you're not getting this other one. This is the one. This is the sword for me." So, yeah, I think you're totally correct. When I make the swords, I really feel the right person will get each sword that is correct for them. And a lot of times the people, after they learn to douse, they'll douse for their sword, or they'll go through the swords and look, and they'll pick one out. And then they'll ask me, well, douse through the swords and see which one. Almost every time, whatever one they had picked originally is the one that comes up that's really good for them. So it's quite exciting that the sword, and all of them are slightly different. Some are really great at working with angelic, the angelic realm, or the celestial realm, or the earth. They all have a slightly different kind of mission. Each sword is, even though it might be cut from the same piece of selenite, once it's made, it may have slightly different qualities depending on what its speciality has become. So it's kind of exciting to see that process.
Yeah.
You know, it is exciting to see that process, and we don't necessarily douse over the swords. We just tell people to pick the sword up and see which one speaks to you.
Yeah.
Each one has a little different look, a different feel. And of course, this one's mine and everybody wants mine. But I'm not selling it.
That's right. No, you can't sell that one.
But the thing that I've noticed when people handle the swords is they know, they can feel it. And if a sword picks them, then what happens is I'll still have that sword 2 trips from now. You know, and you know, I tell them, get it now, because I don't want to carry it around. but you know, that happens. And one sword I remember, not this one, but one sword I carried around, I bet for a year. And I saw the same guy at the Summer Light Conference, Lee Carroll's Cryon Summer Light Conference, 2 years in a row. The first year he picked this sword up and he said, "This is my sword." And I'm like, "Well, but get it." And he didn't. And I still had that sword a year later. I'm like, he got it the second year, which was really good. But it is important that you know, I mean, and Tom, you're creating swords. I mean, we've got some pictures of some of the swords that you've created. Joy, can you show those? I mean, take a deep breath on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, just take a deep breath, because we're going to show you some pictures of some of the swords that Tom's got, the selenite swords of light, and they are, just amazing. I think we're going to.
Can you see them? No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Yep.
They went away.
It went away.
Oh, okay. Let me go back and get it. Well, keep talking.
Okay, but you know what we find with the selenite swords of light is they're a tool that everybody can use. They're a tool that is so simple. They follow. There you go. Wow. I mean, you think this guy's excited about these swords of light or what? I love it. How, take a deep breath. Whew, can you feel the energy of them just where they are now and on a table? This is pretty magnificent. I want to come to your house, Tom. Is there another picture there? Yeah. So, Tom, these are the swords that you're bringing to the workshop in Denver, right?
That's right. These are some of the swords that will be in Denver. Maybe not every one, because there's probably about 100 swords on this particular table. But yeah, we'll be bringing a good number of these to Denver. We'll be bringing the pendulums, the ankhs, all those tools and then, the great thing about this program is we're really going to teach you how to use these, teach you how to clear chakras, how to remove blocks in your system, how to use the ankh, how to use the pendulums, how to clear negative energy. And then we're going to be really working with some high-level activations for Isis and bringing in that those divine feminine qualities and the flower of life, and using those to do clearings in your system and activations. So it's quite, the workshop is all about how to use these tools. It's really an interactive. After we talk a little bit, then we really start to work on each other, work on ourselves, learn how to connect to that morphogenic field or the quantum field, as Cryon talks about, and activate those interdimensional qualities of our DNA. So we'll actually be working with the field, that larger field up to 25 feet around our physical body, in order to activate the interdimensional qualities of DNA that Cryon has so well documented in his 12 layers of DNA and esoteric evaluation. It's quite a good book. But we will be working with that to do those DNA activations to bring our DNA light up so that it can then start to unlock those hidden capabilities that we have of intuition and our connection and ascension, all those great qualities that reside within us that need to be unfolded or activated.
Yes, it's really it's a powerful thing, and the tool, every healing practitioner has different tools that they use. Each practitioner can use what resonates the strongest with them. But what I have found is that in that energy, when you actually get a tool like the selenite sword that is simple, that is powerful, that follows your intention, with the workshop that we're presenting, or even without the workshop. My mom was diagnosed with diverticulosis. Now, she didn't know anything about the swords. She just saw me unwrapping them at her house and thought, what is that? and I was, and I said it was a healing tool. And she just held it on her side where the pain was for 3 days while she was watching the Hallmark Channel and doing her crossword puzzles and watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and all the things that she was doing, And a week later, I set the intention that the selenite sword would remove the blockage in her colon that was causing the diverticulosis. And a week later, she went back to the doctor and she did not have diverticulosis. And wow. They're that powerful. And, I have another friend that her daughter was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And what she did was she just hung the sword on the wall where her daughter sits and watches television. And that was, I don't know, 2 years ago, and the daughter hasn't had an episode since. So there's a lot of techniques that you can learn, but I want you to understand that with the selenite sword, the techniques are like a bonus, and with the swords of light, that's one of the things that in this, you can take a complicated process of doing something, but this with the swords of light, the pendulums that Tom has, that energy, they are a simple tool, they're a powerful tool, and they are pretty darn effective. I know I'm looking at do you have something that you want to say, Joy?
Yeah, I just wanted to share real quickly how I use it personally. And that is, we travel so much, we're carrying luggage everywhere, my body gets tired, it gets beat up. And I just use it, if I'm watching TV, when I get home, I'll just take it and put the sword almost like a heating pad or an ice pack on the place that's sore, and it relieves the pain. It's really amazing how well it works.
It is absolutely amazing. We've got about, gobs of questions. So why don't we open it up to Q&A? I've got some, I can see some. Joy, you've got some. I know one of the Q&A.
Before we answer the Q&A, Marilyn, would you and Tom like to let our viewers know about the workshop? Would you like to tell them about what it is? Because we only have a few spaces left, and would you like to, share that with them?
Sure. I could. One thing I think is going to be great about this workshop is with Marilyn there, I can remember the first time I had a reading with Marilyn, what Adironda said about the swords. He says these swords are bringing in energy from up to the 144th dimension. And if a person can accept it, it will go right in, or the person will get exactly what they need. And that's a really great thing, that you can receive as much as you can actually handle. And with the workshop, it's really designed to progress from the 3 days. The first day we work on clearing the chakras for each other, and then we learn the light body activation. And the next day we learn how to clear negative energy. We learn how to learn how to work on yourself. We may activate the DNA, and then we do the light body activation again. And then we'd also start to work with the Ankh and the sword, and learn how to use the Ankh and the sword, learn how to use the pendulum and the Ankh. And then the last day, we really go for refining the entire structure of our chakra system and bringing it to a higher dimensional functioning. So we really want to bring the chakra system up to a higher geometric function using the sword and the Ankh. Are we still connected? Is that, yeah. Okay. Using the sword and the Ankh. So we'll be using the technique to not only clear karma, but bring the chakras to a higher dimensional state. And then after that, we've got, in addition, Marilyn will be doing channeling and bringing through information about what Adironda has to say, what Marilyn does, the activations that she does. And then in the end, we'll also have a special guest, which is Marika Del Castello from Australia, who will be bringing in some activations for Isis and the Divine Feminine that are quite powerful. I've worked with Marika in Australia the last 3 years, and it's been phenomenal. Finally, I got her to come over to the U.S. So excited about that also. But we're going to learn how to actually do the light body activation, how to clear the chakras. You will really feel at the end that you understand how to use these tools, how they can be beneficial. And the most important thing is to give you that experience. It's really all about the experience, you feeling the energy. In most cases, everybody will feel the energy, but also everybody may start to see the energy. So if you've always wanted to see that, start to understand and see the subtle energies, we find that a lot of people by the end of the program are actually able to see energy, may start to see energy forms, maybe start to see some angelic forms right in the room. So it's quite exciting. Look forward to potentially see you all there.
Yeah, you know, the thing about the course is it's actually 3 days of courses. Day 1 is the light worker training, the level 1. It's the, designed as Tom explained. It's a certification level for level 1. Day 2 is another workshop in that, in how to transmute the negative energies. Also, you can be certified in level 2, then working with the acupuncture points, working with the different points of the body. And the workshop on day 3, it's pretty darn powerful to put to use all that you've learned and then learn more. And that also comes with a certification. I know several people are online with us now that are working towards their holographic healing certification. You have to have 3 techniques that you're certified in. This is one of the techniques that you could be certified in. It's so powerful. And when you stop and think about price, what is this worth? Well, having worked with the selenite swords, they are priceless. Having worked with the pendulums and the ankhs that Tom is working with, they are priceless. There's no way that you can put a value on them. I know Joy and I have paid $2,000 or $3,000 for workshops that we've gone to on marketing. You can become certified in quantum touch for about $1,500. You can become certified as Reiki for $1,000 to $2,000, depending on where you are. $1,000 for Reiki Master. Some places, when I was registered for Reiki Master in California, they were charging
activation. We'll need to pull this down.
And with that,
but whenever that is, it's not now yet.
That is, Tom, when you're talking to me, are you talking to me, or are you talking to somebody else?
No, I apologize. No.
But the thing is what is this worth? Tom and Joy and I, and now with our bonus added value of Marika, we really tried our best to make this as affordable as we possibly can. We really worked on getting a hotel in Denver, Colorado, that's right by the airport, so it's easy to fly in. It's got an airport shuttle. It doesn't even cost you anything there. That's got all kinds of restaurants around in the area. So we tried to make that easy, and each day is a standalone day. It's $177. 2 days would be, twice times 177. If you do all 3 days, we're going to take $66 off the whole price. So it works in tandem with each other, but, do what you can. And as an extra added bonus, something that you will possibly never get in the United States again, maybe, is Marika, who is a magnificent channel of Isis, which is going to be pretty interesting because Isis is on our council, and we'll have dueling channels or with Isis together, bringing in the divine feminine. It's so fascinating, Tom. When we use the selenite swords, Sekhmet, who is a goddess of destruction, goddess of creation, comes in and uses the swords on groups when we activate it in groups. And it will be wonderful for Marika. And that is at no additional charge. I know Marika usually costs quite a bit to come in for a workshop. Is she there? Can she say hello?
Yes. Yeah. Come on over, Marika.
Okay.
Surprise.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure to be part of this. Like, it's the first time I've been in the States, and I'm a light language channel. So Isis is one of the beings that comes through, but actually many do. So I'm so excited to be with you all, and especially to connect with you, Marilyn and Joy, and just really feel the beautiful activations and the energies of your beings that you bring through, and your light and your love. And it's my great honor to be here. And I've been in Australia, and I literally, for the last month, I feel like I have been in light body connecting with all the people that are going to be coming to these workshops. And my heart has just been singing. And that's one of the other things that happens when I channel is I sing. And if later or something I can just sing a beautiful soul song to you all, it would be my great honor. But otherwise, you'll just have to wait till the workshop. And it's like a little sweetener there, because the soul songs, you'll never hear anything like it. Like, they will just literally open up your heart and make you feel your angelic presence, because we all are angels. So yes. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I so look forward to meeting you all in person.
It's going to be pretty exciting, and Marika was extra added value that at no additional charge for the workshop. And keep in mind that we only have 10 spots left for the workshop. We like to keep the groups really intimate, so Tom can work with each person, so I can work with each person, Joy can work with each person, and Marika can work with us, and we really like to keep those intimate. And with that intimacy, it's important to hold that energy. And I'm gonna, if you're gonna change the microphone back, I'm gonna mute you out a little bit, Marika. So
Marilyn, I've put the registration page up in the chat, but let me also say what it is for those people who are on the phone. It's basically, you go to our website, Adironda.com/selenite-sword, and you'll find the registration page. You can register there. I don't expect those spots to last long. I think that by the time the replay gets out, we'll have those 10 spots filled up. But I put the page up, and the people who are live, they actually are the first ones to know about it. We haven't sent the information out to our list yet. So, yeah.
So wonderful.
It is so wonderful, and I can't wait to meet you in person, Marika. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us.
Yalela sai nano troi se aki anta elale ale lara aruanta.
Nice.
We have a whole bunch of Q&A.
I bet you do.
I promised that we would get back to the Q&A, but the challenge was, as I was watching the questions come in, a lot of them were about the plurkshop. As many of you know, we call our workshops plurkshops because Adironda likes to play. Play plus work equals plurk. So this is another one of our plurkshops.
Oh, I love that. I like to play too. It's my favorite.
Yes, definitely. And I know that I see a question here from Lauren that's asking, if you're traveling in the United States, can you take it on a carry-on? No. If you're traveling out of the United States, can you take it on a carry-on? No. You
can tuck it in your luggage. No worries.
Yes, you can. You do need to wrap it in your, if you have a sword, bring it. Wrap it in the board that came with it, and you can never have too much bubble wrap, in my opinion. Put it in your checked luggage with your soft clothes around it. And I travel with a dozen swords every weekend, and I've never broken one while I was traveling. I've dropped them myself and broken them. but I've never broken one while I was traveling. So,
Well, there's a bunch of more questions here, Marilyn.
yeah, let's
dive into them. Okay.
Yeah, let's dive into the Q&A.
Okay, the obvious question: how can I get a selenite sword?
Well, there's a lot of ways that you can get a selenite sword, but usually there's only 2 people in the United States, I believe, that can provide you with a selenite sword. One is Tom Letter, and one is Marilyn Harper and Joy Roby. The best way that I know, and I've got a few people that are not able to come to the workshop, the Plurk shop, and they've asked if they can get them online. You know, they do pick their owner. And I don't know how Tom does that, but this is how I do that, is I intuit from all the stock of swords that I have, I intuit or douse for this person with their name and their birth date. And then I narrow it down to like 4 or 5 or more, and I send them a picture of it. I ask them to feel into the energy of each one, and then they pick the sword in that capacity. And yes, you can get them. What's another question?
Well, that was the second question, was can Marilyn intent a sword?
Yes. Yes. I elicit the help of Adironda, and I know that Tom does the same thing. And you can buy them online on the websites and work in that capacity. Or, you know, Joy and I are traveling every weekend. We will be somewhere in a city near you between now and December. I think we're going to be in 36 different cities. I don't know, but I think that that's our tour. And come and see the swords for yourself. See them in Denver. The first weekend, April 6th, 7th, and 8th. April 6th is level 1. April 7th is level 2. April 8th is level 3. And we will have so much fun, and we'll have that whole table of swords there. What's another question, Joy?
There's quite a few questions here for Tom, so I don't know if we can get Tom back on the microphone. But in the meantime, I'll ask you a couple questions, Marilyn. This is from Julie. She wants to know, how do you specifically word the intention question for pendulums to invoke the Christ consciousness like you spoke of earlier?
I specifically say, that's a great question, Julie.
Yeah.
I specifically say, I ask that all information come through the Christ consciousness, and then I ask, is it in my highest good to even ask questions about what is it in my highest good and my highest joy to even ask questions about what I'm looking for. But I just state, it is my intention that all answers come through the Christ consciousness instead of from my own personal belief system. And I just say it very simply like that.
You know, and I'd be happy to, because we're such a proponent of using that, I'd be happy to send it out in the replay so that people can download it.
Sure.
Okay. This question is from Tia, and she says, I have a natural selenite sword that's a hunk of selenite straight from the cave it was mined from. It fits in my hand nicely. It's about 15 inches long. What does the shaping of the selenite do that the natural piece cannot? That's for Tom.
Wait, Tom is muted. There you go. Okay, now say it again.
That's a good question. You know, as you see, you probably haven't seen selenite this shiny and this polished before. And what I found over the years is the more refined I got on the ability to polish and shape the swords very precisely, that the power of the selenite went up from just a raw piece. The other issue is that within the sword, this handle, now what I use in the handle, that's actually a copper sleeve filled with those crystals, the sacred water. So what happens is that then the alchemy of what's in the handle is magnified through the blade, and the blade as I was able to polish it more and more effectively got much more energy, more power, higher frequency, it really made a difference. So a raw piece of selenite is nice, but this is a alchemy tool, an alchemy ascension tool. It's not just the selenite, it's all these other crystals. It's the sacred water from over 45 locations around the world. And also meteors, 7 volcanoes. There's at least 5 or 6 crystals for each chakra in the system, and crystals for the chakras above the head, and also for the Earth Star. So the selenite swords are an alchemy of other ingredients that are in these power crystals that I bring into the mix.
Here's another question. There's a bunch of questions here for you, Tom.
Go ahead.
Will we be learning how to use the flower of life at the workshop in Denver?
To some degree, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a whole class on just the flower of life, but we will use the flower of life to do an activation for everybody.
Okay.
Excellent. And I saw another question from Kathleen that said, how do we know which one is for us? And it's like, you just know.
So and again, if they could have, you could have Marilyn, you could have Marika help. Marika is also very good in selection of swords. She has an interesting capability. She can actually read what that sword is going to do for you. What's its purpose? What is it connected to? She's one of the only people that I know that actually does a reading on what is your sword's ability or capability. What's it going to help you do? I've always found that to be quite fascinating. I've seen maybe 30, 40 of these readings, and they're all different.
Yes, I see a question that says, what again were the 3 common blockages that are tripwires that healing practitioners use? Those blockages are, number 1, a lack of trust in what they're doing. Number 2, they get frustrated and overwhelmed because they don't understand how to use the tools that they've got. And number 3, they find a complicated healing process with a really big book or techniques, or they've got too many techniques. And so that's why we're showing you the selenite swords and the tools that we've used, Tom's used, and I used to use all the tools, and now I only use the swords and the pendulums that Tom creates, because and so those are the 3 tools, the 3 blockages that healing practitioners use. I hope I answered your question, Lauren.
And here's one from Diane. This is a little bit outside the scope of the swords, but she said several years ago she was given a cylindrical selenite crystal about 4 inches tall and 2 inches wide at the base, 1 inch wide at the top. I've never used it in any way because I have not known what to do with it. Your work sounds fascinating and exciting. Someone's moving the Q&A. And practical. Do you have some ideas or suggestions about how I can work with this selenite crystal? So I think, Tom, do you have any idea of people who just have a piece of selenite, what they can do with it?
Well, selenite, you know, the properties of selenite is they bring in a high frequency. They really bring in light. And Katrina Raphael talked about in her books that selenite somehow has the ability to slow light down enough to go into your actual physicality. So just working with the piece of selenite near any of your chakras will help clear your chakras. And, you know, the first step is to make sure that all the chakras are working effectively, that they're spinning correctly and they're activated. And even a piece of selenite with the right, you know, taking the intention to activate your chakras, the selenite will magnify your intention, and also it can help clear those chakras by bringing in a high frequency. And
Tom, Karen asks, is there any difference between selenite wands and selenite swords?
Well, the wands. there was always a debate: do I call this a wand or do I call it a sword? The reason I call it a sword because Archangel Michael's always pictured with a large sword. And when I first started making the swords, I actually called them Archangel Michael Swords of Light. But then what happened is so many other beings started to work with the sword, like the divine feminine side, Isis, Segment, all the Egyptian deities started to come in. And so I stopped calling them just Archangel Michael Swords of Light and have a more inclusive selenite Swords of Light. And also I've classified them as the ultimate shaman tool because they really can help you connect into the other realm, the other side, to raise your frequency so you can see and feel the energy.
And if you're going through TSA, they're wands.
They're wands. They're healing tools,
wands. Yeah.
or works of art.
If you by chance, don't bring them to TSA. They don't like the sword.
Yeah. Put them in your checked luggage. Also, someone, Karen asked if you can use these swords on distance healing. Absolutely. Every holographic healing session I do, I use them in distance healing all the time.
So that I just tell you a real quick story. When I first started to, Maya went back to Australia. She got a group of ladies together, wanted to feel the swords. I got a bunch of swords on the floor, and I'd show each lady a sword. I'd bring up another sword. They could tell the difference between the swords. Each sword had a different quality, and I sent the first 10 over to Australia. And the next thing, they wanted me to come over and do a workshop. So these are non-linear tools. That means the energy, I may be here and you may be in California, but we're going to do this light body activation shortly, and you'll be able to feel these through the video. And so it's quite powerful. Also, if you go to YouTube, I have a light body activation on YouTube just so you can experience the energy. You just look on my name and light body activation.
Marilyn, this is for you. What are the dates of the Plurk Shop, and also are we going to be repeating this later in the year?
The dates of the Plurk Shop are April 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2018, and you can still get a hotel room, and we've got people that are looking for roommates, I don't know that we're going to repeat. We're not going to repeat it this year.
It's not on our calendar right now.
It's not on our calendar. And right now, I don't know that we have any time to repeat it this year. And I don't know that we're going to repeat it next year. I just can't say.
Here's a good question for Tom. Are selenite swords an ancient tool or a new paradigm invention?
That's a really great question. I have felt that these tools, the selenite originated, and the use of this type of a technology started in Lemuria, went through Atlantis, and was refined in Atlantis. But the difference now is that because of the world has become a smaller place, new crystals are discovered all the time. So basically, we've taken maybe an ancient healing tool has come forward, and it's been refined because there are new energies that have been discovered on the planet. Meteors, new crystals are discovered all the time. And I am always looking for the highest frequency crystals, like one we just found in Australia called alganite, that has gold in it, platinum, silver, has like about 15 different metals, along with about 30 different crystals mixed into one rock. And we use that in the sword. So I'm always bringing in new frequencies to the swords that have never been brought together, I don't think, before. So that makes that part of it a new technology, but based on an ancient principle. And then, of course, the Ankh, using the Ankh as a crystalline Ankh, I don't believe it was even in ancient times, there was no way to combine 400 power crystals and selenite into an ankh. So I think we have some actually refinements on ancient technology, ancient healing technology. But the great thing is that the lineage is support. These lineages are coming together. The divine feminine lineage, the Atlantean lineage, the Lemurians, the Taoists. There's crystals that bring in the Taoist traditions. So they're all coming together because we really need this now. We really need to move our world out of Kali Yuga and into Sat Yuga. We really need to make that leap.
Yeah.
There's two more. I know we're going to do, we're planning on doing an activation, right?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
But there's a couple of questions that are really important.
Yeah, I was going
Go
to,
ahead.
there's a couple more, and there's also an observation that I just wanted to share. But first of all, will a replay be sent out? Absolutely. Within about 24 hours, I should have the replay out to everyone who's registered, and feel free to share it with your friends. And then Mari L asks, Tom, can I clear my house energy with intention in the sword?
Totally. It's so awesome on, I have people doing land work, doing clearing your house. You can supercharge your life. You can activate everything in your house because the light that comes out of the swords can go into the walls of your house, can go into the pictures. I clear everything in my house. I also activate them. So once you've cleared things, then we want to bring in more light, more love, and more grace into everything that we do. So it's quite amazing how you can really supercharge everything that you're doing, including magnifying whatever direction and intentions that you have, your goals, your aspirations, what you want to accomplish can be magnified by the selenite swords of light.
Yeah, you can even use it on your business. You can use it to clear.
We're going to do that. We're going to learn to clear, magnify, and supercharge the energy of everybody's direction, their companies, their missions, whatever that may be. And they can also really help us find our puzzle piece. What is our puzzle piece? Where do we fit in? What is the thing we're going to contribute to the world to help this place, to make it a better place?
Of course, that's mine and Marilyn's passion, is helping people with that.
I know.
So thank you for that, Tom. Marilyn, can you explain the light body and DNA activations more? This is from Julie. She says, I've done meditations with solar and lunar activations, and I have Lemurian, Pleiadian, Star Mother activation cards, but I don't fully understand what activations do.
That's a great question, and you're going to have an example in just a few minutes of an activation. You have 24 strands of DNA, and that's normally most humans start off believing they have 3 strands of DNA. So we're activating all 24 strands of DNA with the work that we're doing. When you're working in that activation energy, what you're activating in your field now is your field. You've got your cells of your body, then you've got your auric field, then you've got your etheric body, your auric field, and then you've got your whole field that works in 5 or 10 feet radius around your body, depending on how big your field is. And what that activation is that is aligning all of the cellular structures in your field to be all working in the same direction, to where that, you get people and they're all scattered around and they don't know what they're doing and they can't think of anything and they can't focus. Well, it's because all their field is just being crazy. So, but what the activation does is it aligns that energy and connects that energy and activates, in my intention, whatever you need to have activated in your cellular field, in your field. And it deactivates the things that you really are done with, that you're ready to let go of, you're ready to integrate, so they're no longer in charge. And I understand what you're saying about the star cards. Everybody's got a different technique and a different tool, and if you resonate with those, then then work with them and see and find the difference before you put the cards on your body and after you put the cards on your body. With the swords of light, you can tell a difference when we wave them around. You know, I mean, and I've discovered size doesn't matter. You know, the little swords here, I mean, this one, it's got a green end, so you can't really see it. It gets invisible.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
But
I was wondering, that's a fluorite.
Yeah, this is fluoride on the end of this, and it doesn't show up.
Those spiral ones are specifically for DNA activations.
Right. So
you know, speaking of waving it around and affecting things and activating people, before we start the activation, I just want to share one observation that I've been saving, and that's from Meredith, who said she had a wicked headache and a neck pain on the left side of her body. Since the webinar began, the pain has been lessening and lessening. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Meredith.
And Meredith is going to be at the Selenite Sword Workshop.
Yay.
Oh, just before we go into the activation, I just want to give the landing page, the registration page one more time. It's Adironda.com. I've put it in the chat. If you're online, you'll see it in the chat. If you're watching the replay or listening on the phone, it's Adironda.com, ADIRONNCA.com /selenite, SELENITE -sword, SWORD. So that's Adironda.com /selenite sword. We only have 10 spots left. I haven't checked to see what's come through, but I would say if you're thinking about it, you want to grab your seats, grab a registration for this clerk shop, because I really don't think I think we'll be sold out by the time the replay goes. I'm pretty confident about that.
Yeah, I do too. Also, someone's asking about a promo code. When you do all 3 days, it automatically takes $66 off. If you are a double-digit subscriber in your customer hub, there's a promo code that, as a double-digit subscriber, they can use.
I'm seeing on the chat people come through. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys can see it, but thanks, Colin. We're so excited to see you in Denver. Yay!
Yay! Yay! Are you bringing that great big sword you bought? I love it. Also, Julie says that her headache went away also. My headache went away too.
And she's signing up too. So we're already down to 8 spots. So I hope it's you, whoever's there, because I really want to meet you. And I'm personally really excited about this. Of course, you know how much I love working with Marilyn because I've dedicated my life to it. But Tom is just as amazing and just as much fun. And I know you're going to have a great time. Plus, you're going to learn something really, powerful that I don't think anybody else is really doing. So very cool. Oh, and Colin's bringing Lucia too. So awesome.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Hotel reservations. Yes, if you decide to come, you'll get an email that has the information to make your hotel reservation, and ask them for the Adironda or the Marilyn Harper discount. I don't know if we still have some, but
we do.
Yes, we still have the discount. You should be able to get it. If you don't, send us an email to info@Adironda. Oh, good. Everyone from Peru is coming. Cindy, Ellen, and Sherry. That's so awesome. It's going to be a family reunion, too.
Yay.
I'm so excited. So that brings us down to about 5 spots left. So
Act now.
So let's turn this over to the sword maestro himself. So you guys can get a taste of it and just sit back and enjoy this activation. This is a gift.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing is a light body activation, and Marilyn talked about what the light body was. It's all those subtle fields around your physical body, and it's really the key to help raise your light quotient. So what we're going to do first is, if you're out there, wherever you might be, just put your feet flat on the floor. And what I'm going to do is we're going to activate the Earth Star chakra, which is below your feet. So all I'm doing is pointing the swords in between your feet, wherever you might be. We're just going to activate the Earth Star chakra. And what that does is it really connects us in to all the crystals in the earth, the billions and millions of minerals, crystals that reside in the earth keeper crystals, all the great frequencies of the earth, and even into deep into the halls of Amenti, where Thoth studied and learned his trade before moving to Egypt. So what we're going to do is just activate the Earth Star chakra, and what you may feel, you might start to feel some tingling in your feet, and some people will feel the energy moving in other parts of their body. So we're just activating the Earth Star chakra first, getting you connected to the earth. That connection that brings forth the love of mother. The earth is always considered to be mother. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave one sword down, and I'm going to bring one sword above your head at the soul star level. So we're going to keep one sword at the Earth Star, and we're just going to let those 2 points connect. Connect through that Sushumna Nadi. And as someone mentioned, though, that she had been working with the lunar and the two, the Ida and the Pingala moving up the spine, we're just going to allow the Earth Star chakra and the Soul Star chakra to activate. And you might feel energy moving in other parts of your body. And we can move the sword a little bit above your head and activate the other chakras. There are multiple chakras above your head. And now what I'm going to do is just work in the field. So I'm going to take the swords. We're just going to start low and just start to move the energy. And we always like to call forth the ancient elders, all those elders in the past, the shaman that have worked to bring more light onto the planet, to come forward and assist us. Calling forth the ancient elders, the shaman of the past, the Russian shaman of Siberia, the African shaman, the Peruvian shaman, the Native American shaman, the Indian gurus, all those great beings. We ask that they come forward and bring their light to assist us in this time, in this space, now. Bringing in more light, more love, and more grace. More light, more love, more grace. More, 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 more. And now I'm going to bring the swords and point them down to the ground again. And just allow, what we want to do is take about a minute or two, and we're going to gradually come back. And during this period, I always like to call in the divine feminine. We like to call in Mother Mary. Mother Mary. Mother Mary. We call in Mary Magdalene. We call in Isis, Sekhmet, Sekhmet, Sekhmet. Lakshmi, Durga, Kali, all the great goddesses of India. Bagalamukhi, and the highest form of the divine feminine, we call in and activate the Sophia energy. Sophia, Sophia. And now, if you've had your eyes closed, you can open them, or now just come back. And I would like to say how it's just been wonderful to talk with you. It's been wonderful to share this information with you. And it's been really great being with you. Really look forward to the workshop with Marilyn, Joy, and Marika and myself. I am really pumped about this. I'm really excited. We've got a lot to offer, and you're going to love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Marika. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, all y'all.
Hey.
Thank you, Marilyn.
It's like,
thank you.
Woo, it's like, would having a sword in your bedroom help you sleep? Yes, that's the intention, that the sword is helping you sleep, and it does.
It does.
You know, we just want to thank all of you. Thank you also, David, for helping us with technology earlier. Thank you, Joy, for getting this all together. And thank you, Tom, for bringing your expertise. It is going to be...
Deb and Teresa in the background for fielding hopefully no problems.
Yes, thank you, Deb and Diane in the background for getting people on and helping us. Yes, there will be a replay. You will get a link in your email, hopefully within 24 hours. Please share it with your friends. There's a lot of really good information there that you can use on anything. And just thank you all very much.
Even if you can't make the sword clerkshop, we have the swords with us at all of our live events. So, you know, or you can contact Marilyn or Tom and they can intuit one for you.
Yes, exactly. We can certainly intuit one, and check on Adironda.com events, and that will tell you everywhere we're going to be for a long time. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Namaste, y'all. Namaste.
Bye.